Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the desk. +1 Infinite Dodge. I'm out all the way over on that opposite side. Gentlemen, game number 2 is upon us. We have Rascal Jester struggling, toiling away in the mid-pack, an unexpected spot to see them in. Dead Nation Focus Me, currently sitting on top. Though, there's a few things we need to talk about, because Dead Nation Focus Me could have been definitively in first place, but some shenanigans on Summoner's Rift Spaghetti Code Supreme came through and caused some issues, meaning we had to see a rematch between Dead Nation Focus Me and Sengoku Gaming happen, which actually ended up having Sengoku pick up the win. Nymera, coming over to you, what would that even do to a team and a player so deep into a season?
Yeah, so first off about the bug, it was a bug related to Hex Flash. Hex Flash has now been administratively disabled across every major region, I believe. At least it has been in LCK and now the LEC, and it will be in the LJL as well, as far as I am aware. It means that occasionally you can end up instantly respawning. You would have seen that like end of the game at LCK, and of course that was the bug which ended up causing the entire remade game. Couldn't even be chrono broken between DFM and Sengoku. So already, that's pretty catastrophic. That means you have to change the way that you draft. Hex Flash makes certain champions viable. Going into that second game, and from what we've seen afterwards, it became pretty apparent that DFM were a little bit hit mentally by this. A lot of the players were tweeting about it, understandably so. Incredibly difficult scenario. Yoharong had a tweet chain, and I would really suggest going to read this actually, where Yoharong tweeted out saying, actually, no, it's frustrating enough that this happens, and some people might say, oh, it's happened, move on. But then he just couldn't help but think to himself, what would have happened if this was Game 5 of World Finals? What would have happened if the stakes were higher in this? And that's the kind of mentality which these players bring to this game. We know that DFM are a very disciplined team. They're a very professional team. We've heard about their scrim atmosphere as well, being one of very big professional kind of values. And for them to have this kind of blow to their confidence at that point, it sucks. Do I expect them to walk away and be mentally broken? No. Hopefully I do think actually this could be a good learning experience in the long run, because technically it's kind of like a best of 3, best of 2 between Sengoku and DFM, the other best team in the LJL. I actually think that these two were going to get top 2 regardless. Oh my god.
The spaghetti code. We have it right here. We've apprehended the culprit.
And honestly, Nymera, I'd love to just get Dodge's perspective, because we've been so attached to these teams for such a long space of time. We've grown a fond attachment towards DFM far before the changes even came in, before Arya was even their mid laner last year. So, Dodge, I'd love to know, what's your perspective on obviously what this has done to DFM and kind of the LJL in general, as this is your first full year assisting us covering?
Yeah, so for the fresher perspective, right, more focused on 2022, I've loosely followed the LJL for a while, but this is my first year really focused in on it. DFM didn't seem to have the healthiest bounce back in terms of their mental from how MSI went. I think they were a little bit upset about losing some winnable games at that tournament, and I think it really showed.
We were upset about that as well.
That's an understatement. But the way they came into the beginning of the split, dropping that first game of the split to Sengoku, which sort of springboarded Sengoku forward as a big contender in the
really split. Bad draft too in that game.
Yeah, it goes to show that this, while not like a mentally boomed team, as Nymera said, they are susceptible to their emotions, and it does affect their play. So I'm curious to see if they've grown since then, because they have since gotten back on track from the MSI hangover, and they have rebounded quite nicely. I mean, they're tied first in the standings. You could argue they should have won, notwithstanding shenanigans on the last game day. So obviously they have the capability to overcome adversity. It's just, how quickly can they do it? Is it a next game day, they're ready and back to where they want to be? Or is this going to take a couple, another week before it stops being sore for them?
Well, let's actually take it over and talk about this exact match of Rascal Jester facing off against DFM. Rascal Jester have also been struggling a lot. They had another loss 2 to 3 days ago now. I can't remember quite, because days all mashed together for me sometimes. But Hawks were victorious over Rascal Jester. And this was just another in the long line for Hawks. But for Rascal Jester, this is just not working. And I thank you, Chris, because Dash, because Yaharong, a Dasher in another sense, brought it to recap, and Yaharong arguably has been the best mid. He's got the highest KDA of any player, still beating out Honey, which is
I have never seen that stat. I have never seen Roam Diff. I have never seen that.
Diff.
How are they doing that stat?
I would imagine. So
you can do jungle proximity.
So there's jungle proximity, and there is one stat which I believe we use for Niski in the LEC because he does it all the time, where it's lane percentage. How much time do you spend in your lane? So I'd imagine that's another name for it, but what that means is that he's probably... Surely that can't be right, because that would mean that he's spending 87% of his time outside of his lane and not...
He's also getting more farm and experience and everything else than every other player as well while doing that.
That is ridiculous. Actually, thinking about that, you know, Yaharong was a player which I often saw as like behind Jet, and I was looking at Jet. Yaharong, who is getting out of lane and affecting the map, having huge amounts of impact on the map, and then being also up 300 XP like in the early game. He does everything. I didn't quite realize that.
Oh, and he's 5-0 on your favorite champion as well.
There we go. Yeah, DFM are a good
lad.
They know how to play around the old lane priority.
So Dodge, I want to get your perspective on this, because not only has the mid lane matchup been so important, but when you came in, we really amped up and sold you on the idea that, let's be real, the DFM bot lane was going to be exciting to see. We're going to be excited to see how this bot lane is going to wrap up. Harp is going to be a new capacity. Utapon, the known quantity. But we had sold you on Soul and Secret being this huge bot lane. They've just never really gotten it together. What's your thought on the bot lane at the moment?
So, I mean, I think that
No, this was Dodge. I wanted Dodge for this Nightmare.
I didn't hear at the end.
You know what? I think we would all rather hear what Nightmare has to say, but I'll do my best.
No, absolutely no.
I will do my best here, which is to say, from my more limited perspective, not as long of a veteran of the LJL, Spring was way more explosive than I expected from Utapon. I mean, Harp, a lot of time, Korean imports into LJL, you just sort of expect them to pop up, but Utapon, consistent player, had a great Spring, but we do actually have a pick ban to get over to, so I'll have to cut it off there. I do have thoughts on the bot lane matchup, though, but let's elucidate on them in the pick ban phase.
Just before you gentlemen do go, Steel versus Hachimecha. Steel on the season of his career. Hachimecha, bit of a fall off for me, but pick and ban is over there, so gentlemen, take it away.
Okay, so we have set ourselves some stakes, set ourselves some matchups to be looking for. And you did say some stuff about this bot lane match, of course. A couple of champions which have been hanging around there, which we talked about last game. The Sivir has been warping the world meta. I'm really interested to see what DFM's take on it has been, because they typically have a little bit of a different read from the rest of the region as to how they're playing their champions.
Yeah, definitely. And with the Taliyah taken away, that's been a big first pick we've seen across Pro for the past week or so. So really going to have to flex the big brains and come up with something a little bit more creative. I mean, it could be a Poppy first pick. That might seem ridiculous if you're not familiar with the LJL, but it has been
you say that, but it's becoming more of a first pickable champion the world over. We've been seeing it in the LEC, seeing it a couple of times in your choice LCK games as well. But no, it's kitten time. Yuumi is picked up, and this is now very dangerous for Wrestling Jester, because you can say, oh, we can take away the Zeri. That sounds great. But now Sivir is a great lane partner for it as well. You need to start theory crafting. What can you do against this Yuumi lane? Sol and Secret have been big Nautilus players and Nautilus lane players before. That has typically been a very good answer into the Yuumi. But how aggressive do they want to play this? They want to play interactive, shut down the Yuumi, or scale alongside it?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Sol and Secret, because the point I was starting to get to on the desk was that Utapon not having as good of a Spring as he did, but he's still old reliable, and the rest of the team around him is so strong. Sol not having the Spring that he did, that hurts RJ a lot more. So any lane that DFM can put together here that's hard to punish, like a Sivir Yuumi lane will be, definitely going to make things even more difficult for RJ, who went with the blind top laner here in the first phase.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the Sejuani. Because at the end of the day, you're probably going to get Nard. I think DFM can actually just lock in Nard now. I think that's fine for them. It's fine into the Sejuani. I know that Sejuani is kind of a counter matchup into it, but either way, there are a lot of champions which in topside, I just trust Ebby to take into it Sejuani and just wreck it. It is going to be that Trundle. Now you have to play Sejuani. into one of the choice counters as well. This is something that we saw in the jungle quite a lot when Sejuani was more of a jungle champion. But even with that, that Trundle ultimate is going to do so much work. However, this is a very different look. Yasuo third from Rascal Jester. Now, reminder, this can be between bot and mid lane flex.
You just ban Diana here, though, 100% of the time, right?
You should
As
do,
DFM.
yeah. I think what you're banning as DFM is you're banning out that. I actually think you want to ban out maybe ban out Lulu as well, because Cog Lulu has actually been a decent answer to Sivir Yuumi. We've seen Saigon Buffalo pick it up. We've seen Fnatic pick it up when they won against SK the other day as well, and over in the LEC. But DFM not as worried. Yeah, they think this Yasuo could go bot. That's a mid lane ban. They know what's happening. They know what's up.
They have the read. They know that Windwall beats Boomerang Blade in the League of Legends version of Rock, Paper, Scissors, and they're going to keep that attention on the mid lane. RJ as well, trying to take some big answers away when you have the nicely scaling or very impactful teamfight ultimates like that Glacial Prison, like the Keeper's Verdict. Got to take the Silas off the board. Swain as well, an annoying one. What are we looking at here for DFM to take away finally?
I think Gragas could be a good one. I think you can take away Gragas if you're thinking about this Yasuo potentially being bound towards bot side. If you're not worried about bot lane stuff, I do, again, feel like something like banning away a Lulu so you can't pick in a Cog Lulu, or picking something which can kind of scale up alongside the Sivir that can be on the table. But this is going to be more of a recap takeaway. He's always been a Ziggs player. Of course, Saros was our big Ziggs regional player, the Emperor of the mid lane for the LJL, and is still around in the DFM org, just not listed as a substitute anymore, I believe. Because he's on the coaching staff. But yeah, Recap has always been a Ziggs player. So taking that away, just to say, DFM are going to have unparalleled kind of access to Sivir doing DPS and team fights.
And the pickup for Recap will be another one of those champions we highlighted, shared between himself and Yaharong on that pre-game graphic. It will be the Azir, which does indeed go to show the hand has been played. It is that Yasuo 80 carry. Definitely an interesting one. The Shurima Shuffle combos could be pretty crazy, but as you said before, Ebby has basically always a free angle to pick up the Gnar. He's just so damn skilled at it. But this time around, it's really free when you see the Sejuani this early in the draft.
And this is before the Gnar nerfs as well. Mini Gnar gets nerfed on 12-14, so it's a little easier to get some of those kills, which, of course, Sejuani definitely can do in that matchup. It's something where you can get your E procced, then throw your ult for effectively another E for like 40%, max HP damage on top of everything else with an Ignite. And, base damages, it gets very, very scary. So, DFM, locking in towards a strong team fight already. You're lacking a little bit of engage, but you do have lots of damage. And with the LeBlanc locked in, that gives DFM some ability to play around the side of teamfights now as well.
Now, how does this work if this gets locked in? Because that would mean
is this Sejuani support? No. I think that would
support?
I think that could be Sedge support at that point. This would make a lot more sense. This is why I was like, maybe ban out the Gragas, because Yasuo Gragas was the famous duo lane back in Season 9. They have options. They have some flexibility, right? You know that Yasuo's bot lane. You know that the Azir is going mid. And with Gangplank locked in, we are looking at... what are we looking at? Is that Sejuani support? I think it works best with Sejuani support, not gonna lie. I think this should be a Sejuani support.
Yeah, you can proc Yasuo Ultimate off Sejuani Q, right? Because it's a displacement.
But then also Poppy supporting to Yuumi early on. Okay, so it looks like they're going towards Yasuo Poppy bot lane. I was wondering whether it would be better for the... Because we used to see a lot of Sejuani Aurelia kind of cheese 2v2 lanes where you kind of get, I'm with a melee auto-attack resetting champion. You can do lots of work with that.
Right.
Having the Sejuani jungle, I know it's a Hachimecha special. I know he's liked this... Again, they're switching around. This I was like, why aren't you going for the Sejuani bot side? There we go. All right, Sejuani is going towards that support. We already talked about that logic. We got a little bit baited there. I got a little bit baited there. Not going to throw that on you. I got a little bit baited there because I was like, okay, where are they actually switching this around? Yasuo Sejuani is what I would have pinned from that draft, just thinking about, okay, you get auto attack resets a lot on Yasuo. When he gets lethal tempo stack too, that's just going to be so much value and able to get huge amounts of damage through from Sejuani just through base damages as a support. Youthborn, Heart, they're on a scaling, long-range damage backline, but if they fall apart in the 2v2 to something cheesy like this could be a very intricate game.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Rascal Jester they seem to have put all of their willpower into trying to find the most advantageous draft possible. We talked about how Ebby had free reign to pick the Gnar into Sejuani matchup, but now it's actually Ino who's going to be having the counter, typically thought of as a very favorable matchup to take the GP here into the Gnar. So really flexing their muscles, going vintage 2019 G2 or 2019 Griffin type angle with all this flexing and big brain thinking. But we are on to the Rift to see how it does all play out.
And
that's a very nice Yasuo skin.
And that's a ghost on Yasuo? Oh, this is the Ruined King one. This is the Bilgewater Yasuo.
Nice.
This is like the I can't remember the exact name for it, but this one is
Sea Dragon? Sea Dog?
That sounds about Sea Dog. Sea Dog, that's it. Yeah. So for those of you that didn't play the Ruined King game, Gangplank also has another one of these skins. I actually wonder whether Ino has gone towards that, because that's the kind of the ruined Gangplank with the Buru artifact, which
Gangplank the Betrayer.
He steals it from Alawi's. It's a really good game, by the way. I played like 60 hours of it on stream at like 2 a.m. in the morning to like 2 folks watching from North America in a different time zone. So I don't know who they are, but if they're in fact, and that's the skin. Okay, we have a Ruined King draft from Rascal Jester, I suppose. Skinergy.
Very nice, very nice. Skins get wins. We all are well aware of that law of League of Legends, but one thing that's
now give me Ruined King Ari. Give me that.
One can only hope.
Go on. I won't delay a little more. Carry on.
Oh, yes. One other law of League of Legends, although this early aggression might cut us off before we get there, is that you typically don't want to be playing Sejuani into Trundle. I don't think you want to be playing Poppy into Trundle either, so Steel, with the big season he's having, could definitely be a star here, but look at the way they're fighting down here.
Yeah, but what happened here is basically Rascal Jester so this is a meme way back from Season 4 and Season 5, for those that remember it. They just get auto-spaced. They literally just walk up, they're looking for melee versus range, getting those free auto attacks in, and it didn't happen. Harp on Yuumi backsteps the Yasuo Q, backsteps the auto attacks, and Rascal Jester now have to sit there watching their 2v2, which has struggled to come online throughout this entire split, get absolutely demolished at level 1, and have to just cede all pressure in this lane, which potentially had some kill combos earlier. The only caveat is Hatchet is on this side of the map, made it very quickly towards bot side. The wave has been shoved in. There is a Poppy gank angle.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal the way this level 1 plays out. And Steel putting on the pressure in another lane as well, going to get down that pillar.
Chain.
The electrocute into the binding onto recap, and that should just be the chomp after the flash. That's the nice angle coming through. Steel getting it started here with the first blood.
While Rascal Jester's eyes are on the bot side of the map, they lose something around mid, and Hachimecha, he's thinking about doing a switcheroo, thinking about catching someone out, but he's on a ward. He's on a ward, and that means that DFM, they get to play aggressively around bot side. They get to push in this wave yet again. They get to stop any kind of reset kind of play coming in, or rather revenge play from Hachimecha. DFM are absolutely reading Rascal Jester in this early game.
And that's what Trundle does. He invades on the Poppy, not even going to need to win the fight because he's already taken the buff. The buff burglar is out and about. The troll is trolling. Steel looking so good already at 3.5 minutes.
Salt doesn't have level 3 yet. They don't have Wind Wall. This could be very, very dangerous.
Oh, man. The possible decapitation coming on through from that boomerang blade. I mean, look at this harass. This is so hard for Soul and Secret.
Yeah, so, I actually said this when I was on broadcast the other day, but the person I've cast the most in my casting career outside of the LJL, it actually might be DFM, some of their players, but I believe it's actually some players from the UK university scene. And there's one particular player, a guy called Gregors, who is a massive Sivir player. He was one of the first players to pick up Lethality Sivir, so I've chatted a lot to him about the champion, and his opinion on Sivir is basically, you get... you get
production, man.
I love you, Chris. Chris, you're awesome. So, one of the things about Sivir is that you're a good champion when you don't have to worry about laning phase. When you just make it non-interactive. If Sivir gets to shove, gets to play from a huge range and just play off of the wave rather than playing within auto-attack range, Sivir is a good champion. Right now, when you get to see Sivir perma-push, get you on the turret, you don't get to lane against Sivir. You don't get to expose Sivir's weak early game and lack of damage because she's just got you on the turret. You need to fight against the minions, not against Sivir. And that means that when you're sat here as Rascal Jester, you're really having to wonder now, well, what do we do against this champion, which is outscaling us, but we can't interact with?
Yeah, it's a really, really great example of DFM's poise and their experience. I mean, the spacing, the wave management to reset aggro level 1, to get the hard shove, to just keep Soul and Secret from accessing favorable trades means that they are at such an advantageous position. They even get a first plate here at 5 minutes. And yeah, Utapon making the crit Sever Lip Lane dominant, that's an accomplishment and a half.
Well, the good thing for Rascal Jester is not led to... I don't know. I was about to say it's not led to, like, Rascal Jester getting shut out of the game. But the thing is, we see this a lot with Kalista, right? I like that recall. It means they get to see... I mean, you still have Spell Shield at this point, right? You don't get to all in, even with something like a Flash G from Sejuani. But, I mean, Soul and Secret, they're not, like, out of the game yet. They managed to collect some wave at tower. They've lost a plate, yes, but they're not out of the game just yet. Now you're waiting for that level 6, see what you can do with it. But while this is happening, I mean... DFM are happily finding lane advantages, not just on the bot side, but on top side. He's doing the cheap keep. Oh,
I love it.
Oh, so
it didn't work! Oh, no. I mean, this just goes to show, though. Going back to skill gaps,
he's
we
got
have one on the other side lane.
This is dangerous. This is dangerous. That's some dead, folks.
Goodbye, Secret. I mean, I guess now we see why Soul picked up the ghost of his own. At least he gets away from Utapon's wrath, but Recap not going to escape the anger coming forward from Steel. He wants to keep forcing the plays. That is a chunked out chicken.
Chunked out chicken, no ultimate, no ability to have that up for a skirmish which might erupt around the map. Especially when you've got early game champions on the side of DFM in mid and jungle who want to be doing so. So DFM really calling the shots in this early game. Hatchamecha, nowhere to be seen so far. This Poppy normally has early options, but in this game has been held completely at bay because Rascal Jester, you can see what's happening in this 2v2. They think, okay, all right, maybe we can catch out this Yuumi. But if you overcommit into a Ghost AD carry, you are going to get run down. Civ is passive as well. Remember, gives movement speed towards enemy champions when you're in combat with them, and Utapon just uses that to the fullest extent, and Rascal Jester, they just miscalculate, like sadly they've done quite a lot this split in summer. Yeah, it's been a epic downfall for Rascal Jester. They have stumbled and tumbled on down the cliff. They were our juggernaut matchup into DFM in Split 1, but now hovering around that 4th place mark and really dropping a lot of games as of late as well. We thought that the 5-head drafting might steal them some possible advantages in this game, but it's, you know, appropriately enough, been Steel actually running things here, even going to pick up this first rake now as well. Well, I mean, this is something which Lexi brought up on the desk, and I think this is becoming very, very relevant now. Steel is having an awesome year of League of Legends. Yaharon going forwards, that's a lot of damage, not going to be the kill trade, but this is the problem with LeBlanc into his ear. You take continually bad trades, the wave's in a bad spot, you're low HP, you can't fix your wave, and now you're looking at mid lane dominance being started up by DFM and continued. But a lot of this has been through, again, going back to that point before that trade happened, it's on Steel, who's having the absolute year of his career in this 2022 season. And Hatchametra on the other side, we've come to expect a lot from this player, but hasn't been able to really say much about it.
Yeah, as Soul and Secret, again, gonna take the worst end of a trade there. Just can't stick on this Sivir Yuumi, the Spell Shields, the Zoomies. It's all an AD carry main could ever want. This is like karmic revenge for all of us that have ever been gapped by a Yasuo down in the bot lane. This is catharsis. We love to see it. And finally, Hotch seems to be in the right place at the right time to counter-gank, repel this Steel movement forward, but Ebby's still looking aggressively under turret, finds the Gnar, into the wild. The cannon barrage means absolutely nothing. That's just another one stolen under turret. What a performance so far.
And Rascal Jester, they just don't have the answers. DFM making aggressive, dynamic plays across the map at this point. And one of the things which I've come to really love about this DFM roster is how versatile they are. They can make plays anywhere on the map around any of their excellent members. And this is a DFM which is coming off of that loss to Sengoku of all things. Level 6 hit in the bot side. Can it lead to a kill though?
Yeah, finally they do find that last breath, but will it be enough? That's Utapon continuing to kite it out as Harp at least will get out, even if Utapon can't. The sidestep through the Q will not mean enough as Soul does just auto-attack him. Can they find the dive onto the cat, however? No, they don't have the cooldowns! Harp answers back 1 for 1! Are you kidding me? Oh, it's a tragedy as now Hotch caught in the wrong place, tries to use Trundle's Pillar against him, but Yaharong doesn't want to let him escape the phase rush. Going to be good, but you can't get around Ebby. He's on a mad orange Yordle, and he does not want to let you live, although the flash juke could mean something. The last auto off the red buff, no shot. Yaharong over the wall finally converts.
Oh, he's all looking for something.
Oh, man, the 1-for-1 for the cat. You hate to see it, man.
I mean, part of me thinks that's worth it. Part of me actually think that's worth it. Because if Yasuo has gold, you don't care if you're trading it with the Yuumi, because the Yasuo is so much a large part. I'm not even gonna. You know what? It's a mess. I'm not even gonna start like rationalizing that. It's happened. Gold has been traded. It's a free recall. Sure, Yasuo gets back to base, but at least at this point, Sol and Secret, they show why this kind of unorthodox draft in terms of this 2v2 can really start walking up. And Yutapon, he doesn't spell shield the knockup. Maybe decides that he can kind of play around it, but then that leads into a huge CC combo and a lot of damage coming down for free. And Harp and Yutapon, they misjudged the 2v2 in kind of way that Sol and Secret did beforehand. And so while we kind of criticize Sol and Secret for that play beforehand, let's go praise them a little bit there for finding the correct calculation after this point. Picking apart Yutapon and Harp, who have been so strong in the split.
Speaking of getting picked apart, I know, getting cut to pieces by Ebby's Gnar. This is so hard, man. The wallop into that boulder will secure his fate. And as the GP one-trick aficionado of the LJL, I gotta say, this is painful. You're down 23 CS in a matchup you're supposed to counter. Just really feels grim at this point for Rascal Jester.
So the thing is, like, in terms of like the counter, non-counter thing, I do genuinely feel like in this season, Gnar has been basically devoid of counters unless you are a very good Yone player or a very good Aurelia player. If you're in the LPL, maybe it's a bit of a different story when you're fighting all the time and everyone is very confident about taking those fights on the right kind of timings. But in this game, you are looking at Aino, who is given a draft advantage with this switch of the Sejuani down into bot side to try and bait out the Gnar pick and try and get that counter matchup. He was given that advantage, and it's just not worked out for them. Rascal Jester just haven't had options, and now Ebby just absolutely monstering in the 1v1.
Come on, man. You can't do this to him. Proxying behind the tier 1. Meanwhile, Steel coming into the mid lane with that first Herald. We didn't even catch that. Is sitting securely in his pocket as well. So plate gold just waiting to be accessed at any time. I mean, this is brutal.
I knew that Sejuani had Spellbook. And this is the thing which, in one of the finals which Tarzan played against Hal, I'm trying to think if it was actually versus T1 at that point.
It must have been, I think.
I think it was T1. He took the Spellbook Sejuani jungle. He just like randomly teleport into gank. So I saw like the teleport to me, like, oh, it'll be repacked compared to later. And I see the Sejuani pop up, like, oh, hi Sejuani. And then Azir pops up behind him, like, double TP to reset. Hell yeah, let's go for it. But of course, into the Trundle, you are looking more for Spellbook to stop like getting into negative armor when you get Trundle ulted while your Aftershock's active. You can definitely understand the tech, but Secret has the Ignite available, maybe ready for some aggressive plays. Ebby is certainly ready for them. Doesn't quite kill off the wave, but I know taking a turret shot after the last minion dies.
Leave him alone, man. He has a family. I know, trying his diddly-dang best there. I mean, he's popping the barrels, he's getting the trials by fires, he even brings down the cannon barrage, but it's not enough to stop the prehistoric Yordle. Yeah. Running all the way through time to get that kill. Herald gonna crash. DFM, they are up 5k at 13 minutes.
And, you know, coming into MSI, one of the things which I was... So a lot of people around broadcasts around the same were kind of saying that DFM were a very good early game team, and that's something that we need to watch out for them. Of course, I'm just trying to see if this is going to evolve into anything more. Are they going to pull the Sejuani ultimate? They do, but it misses.
Yeah, the counter will be the Yuumi ultimate coming out. That final chapter going to lock everybody up. Hotch trying to go into that Keeper's Verdict to try and get on out. Yeah, that's the chomp through the cone. A Steel special, making the Trundle really bite this game.
Yeah, but my opinion is the LJL is typically not a great early game region. We like to sit and wait for those objective timers, wait until we can start playing around better. Okay, exhaust coming through, clutch from Harp.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Yuumi right in the nick of time, and now Yutapon even wants to clear out the wave, proc that fleet of foot, and chase Soul down. No fear with Steel coming to back it up. There's some casters left, but just gonna let those ones fall, not gonna overforce the dive with the reinforcements coming from base.
I love how this is. I don't think the LJL is a great or particularly fast early game region, and then everything starts happening at this point. But out of the teams, DFM are definitely the best early game team in the LJL. And this was something that when we see them go internationally, some people were kind of going, oh, DFM are a very good early game team. It's kind of hard to read that when you have such an early game region. That was one of the things, sorry, not an early game region, rather. It's kind of hard to read that because you don't have a great benchmark, but DFM have continually managed to find objectives and say, actually, they can actually find fights at the right moment. It's just sometimes hard to tell how good they really are, but one of the reasons for it is just having such strong lanes to play around. Someone like Emmy doing this over and over.
Where have I seen this one before? It's on repeat. Every time that Mega is available, just comes on through, hits him with the Gnar. It's a hard time to be a pirate. The plunder is not really readily available for Ino. And I think going back to that early game point, it was even more surprising for me at MSI when DFM showed up and played a pretty decent early game. That was what I took the least umbrage with in that tournament showing from them. So at least they've continued that evolution in regular season play as Yaharong continuing to harass. And as we get into this mid-game, this 15-minute mark, it's a DFM clean sweep. We've been focusing on how well they've been playing, but are there any angles for Rascal Jester to rebound here?
You're looking for miracle combos, catching people out. You have a Yasuo to keep people CC'd in place. And if there is a slip, you have a Gangplank, scales and damage. Azir, very much scales and damage. And the Yasuo, of course, doing huge amounts of work when you do get to those item breakpoints. Are they going to get to that point, though? That's a hard ask. I
mean, at least Soul does skirt on out of danger for now. Hotch with Keeper's Verdict into the last breath, but the Gnar, Emmy takes no damage! They are trying so desperately. Steel does finally fall, however, so many low health bars, but no kills yet. Hotch still flashes out! They're trying to do it, they're juggling the aggro. Yaharong finally arriving, will flash the wall, goes right over that Emperor's Divide, and now Unibon is here, the final chapter. The Yumi LeBlanc boosting strat rears its ugly head again as Yaharong picks up the double kill, venting all that frustration from yesterday's loss onto Rascal Jester. I wouldn't want to be in their spot, as now Soul forced to be condemned and will finally fall 14-3 DFM.
At the start of that fight, yeah, you can sit there going, it's feel good for Rascal Jester, but you should know you are playing for the most little amount of losses you can do, right? At the start of this, DFM, the minimum losses, right? I mean, even at the start of this, I know dies on Destroy. We didn't even get to see this during this play. Maybe that's why they thought, oh, we can go for this big play. But you're going into a Mega Gnar that has so many items, so many kills. Yes, you get a couple of kills at the start of it, and it's feel good, but you are always going to lose this fight. They get one kill onto Trundle, and that's all you can get from what is actually a mechanically fairly well-played fight from Rascal Jester. This was just the wrong fight to take.
They executed as cleanly as they could, and it still was a huge loss. They couldn't 4v1 the Gnar, and now Soul dashing about the place, trying to live. Yaharong behind enemy lines, but has Harp right on top. So slippery on this Trickster, as that's a nice pick. The Spell Shield not blocking out in time, as now Steel out in the open can get knocked up via that last breath. Under the turret they go, but they don't quite have the damage. He's the Troll King, you fools! At least it's an execute on to one, but that's going to be the Emperor's Divide for no effect whatsoever. Recap desperately trying to shuffle on out of dodge, but Yaharong with the binding down. He's not done yet. He doesn't want to let them escape. The final chapter will seal the final fate for Rascal Jester, although follow-up might be all gone at this point. It's still DFM coming out on top of a very crazy skirmish.
I mean, this is the kind of game where every time DFM show up to a lane, they're looking to fight. And they look at the number of stats they have, and they look over at the number of stats that Rascal Jester have, and they say, my number is bigger than yours. Try it. And Rascal Jester, they are trying it. They're looking for these shutdowns. They're looking for the individual picks. But at the end of the day, when you fall behind against a composition that can so readily take fights against you, you are always going to come out on the losing end of it.
Yeah, goodbye, Recap. That's Yaharong showing off a little magic trick. He makes the Azir disappear. As, I mean, you might as well kill the clone. That's, what, like 20 gold there? It's something. Comeback starts somewhere.
Yeah, feel good. But you're now at a point now where Yaharong can go back and get a Magi's. He can go do that at this point. He can do some book gaming. He has a 10 stack on the Dark Seal. And I think that's the correct play. I think DFM are starting to get to the point where they have snowballed absolutely beyond the horizon. You were asking a little while ago, you know, what can Rascal Jester do to try and get themselves back into this game? They should be looking for picks. They are looking for picks, but DFM are so much more prepared for it.
Yeah, and they have so much lucidity to get across the map. They have so much mobility and poise. They win the split-up fights. They win the 5v5s. They turn picks into number advantage situations because Ebby just lives forever until the backup arrives. And now it's RJ. Okay, you're first to this Drake, but you're pinched in, and I don't think that's where you want to be. Steel healing up with that Subjugate. Is going to be forced back for now, though. The poke doing some work from RJ, but it does feel like they're going to be boxed in. It's a nice Poppy ult, however, to try and get the numbers advantage. The last breath into the cannon barrage will find so much damage, but Utapon does not care. This Sivir, so aggressive. When have you seen an AD carry move forward like this as he's forcing all of the members of Rascal Jester to turn tail and run? Hotch, where can you go? What can you do except fall to the boomerang blade of Utapon?
And the rest of the team, they don't even care for the Sejuani. They're going up with their wave. They're pushing it in. DFM, in such a frustrating, calamitous loss to Sengoku in the most obscure of scenarios, have come back with a vengeance, with righteous anger, and poor Rascal Jester. They have to sit here, look down the barrel of this loaded detonation focus me gun, and just watch this game get torn away from them.
Yeah, and I think it speaks very well to a third possibility we didn't foresee, right? Because on the pregame we were saying, is DFM going to bounce back and not let their mental be affected, or are they going to have a bit of a hangover from their tilt? And they actually picked the third option. They said, we're going to stay tilted, and we're going to let it fuel us, but we do have a replay here coming through with this Drake fight.
I have been really impressed by DFM this game. Now, I do think that parts of Rascal Jester have made it easier for DFM to do what they wanted to do. I think particularly when they've been choosing to fight all of these fights against this large advantage, and kind of just taking whatever fight is there. I think that's probably been the wrong decision. I don't think they've been quite clinical enough about what they were choosing to do. But DFM have been so ready to fight. This is kind of, when we go back to MSI in those 2 games versus Saigon Buffalo, the VCS, this is kind of what we saw from them then, where DFM showed that actually they are willing to take fights when they're presented. They're just saying, look, maybe it's not the right play to make, but we're making it because it's shown to us. Just take the fights which are given to you. DFM are continuing to do that. Come back to live, another fight, another Rascal Jester retreat.
Yeah, that is going to be the final chapter, and the Subjugate burn, so that is Steel and Harp without their ultimates now, and Soul does live, but you can't help but feel that it doesn't really matter because it's still full priority around the Baron. It's still Rascal Jester pinned into a tough position. And Epi still has the ultimate, baby. He's still finding the plays. He's killing up Secret in no time whatsoever. Now the exhaust, once again, the bane of Rascal Jester's existence is, I know, easy pickings. The Ricochet all the way down, going to pick that one up. You can't escape Utapon this game, man.
You can't, because this is the problem. When you're on the retreat with, what, 4 melee champions, you are not making it out alive. You're really hoping for just the godlike Emperor's Divide to keep yourself alive. This is how the game has gone. Huge gold leads, Soul Point, Baron, DFM are showing exactly zero mercy to what have been their biggest rivals in the last couple of years of play in the LJL. Rascal Jesters have been such a solid foil to Detonation Focus Me, not necessarily beating them, definitely not taking those titles, but holding to them to account every so often. This game, you could not see any of that. Detonation Focus Me taking zero arguments.
Yeah, as the replay at this point, mostly superfluous. It's what it's been all game. It's been the chase down. It's been the lack of escapes readily available there for Rascal Jester, as that Ricochet we highlighted before. So clutch. Gotta love those 4 seconds of infinite bounces.
It was actually the LeBlanc the Q which actually ended up taking the kill. Like, actually with 2 shurikens, two boomerang blades or whatever, like the little bouncy things. Probably would have killed them anyway, but it looks cool.
You know, we like style points here. That's definitely a big point in favor of the LJL, especially DFM. They play with so much style. So much Oh, Ebby going to get that Nard bar built up right in time for the final push. They've cracked their 1 inhibitor. They could choose to play through top lane now as a 5-man unit and take a second Ebby playing goalkeeper in the opposing base, hurling out boulders, walloping Ino into the wall. He has all the tools he needs, as that GP is going to have to run right back to the fountain.
And without the GP there are no barrels. Not that there was much really contest coming from Rascal Jester at this point. There's just a shooting gallery for DFM.
Poor Hotch. If that's what the tank is experiencing at 24 minutes into the game, you know it is a lost cause as the Cannon Barrage desperately trying to wean this wave. I mean, it's a nice keeper's verdict, but you can just bring Ebby right back into the fight with the TP, so you replenish the member you lost with that top laner coming through the Boomerang Blade, narrowly missing Ino, but Ebby's still doing a great job to zone multiple members out. In the meanwhile, that second inhibitor will finally go down. Just when you think you have this Yordle on the brink, he will hit the Mega. No taking down Ebby in this game. He has been immaculate, as have DFM largely, as that will be the final push for it. One more kill coming through. Hotch into the fountain can just sit back in futility as the Nexus will fall. DFM with a statement win, 25 minutes, 27-4. Okay, we do a little troll in Nymera. We do a little bit,
but it is not nearly enough to shut DFM out of what has been an incredible game from them. Now, caveats will have to be put in here. Many of them, DFM basically won on an individual level across the board. We've come to expect this from this team, but now DFM rolling forward from this victory, at least they're showing they haven't been derailed by what was an incredibly frustrating loss coming into this one.
Yeah, it's the bounce back campaign that we all hope for from DFM. If they continue playing with this amount of ferocity moving forward, it will be a very fun stretch run towards the end of the regular season over the next few days. But we will have all of the individual points and breakdowns that you could ever want on this game after a short break. So stick around and we'll tell you all about how DFM did it once again. But we'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the desk. Mass One, Infinite Dodge, and Nymera. Gentlemen, we just witnessed DFM face off against another team. That team's name happened to be called Rascal Jester. And Nymera.
Yes.
A conversation and something we love to talk about is the pick and ban phase. Now, I put in the Twitch chat, what a mess of a draft. What were your thoughts on this draft from both the teams?
To be clear, I do think it's a mess of a draft. I think that there were some things which Rascal Jester did almost very intelligently and then kind of tripped over themselves. What they did was they saw Sivir Yuumi coming in. This has been a big lane in the meta. Many teams are looking for an answer for it. They thought they had an answer in Yasuo Sejuani bot side. That has an extra bonus of giving yourself like counter in top lane because the Sejuani is no longer there. But when you look through the rest of this draft, this Yasuo Sejuani has to win lane. You are not winning top lane. You're not winning mid lane in terms of priority, in terms of pushing early. And that didn't go well right from the off. They were half intelligent. Execution was very high, burden on the bot lane, and it didn't quite work out for them. And that's kind of a really bad start for them when that's kind of the one thing you can play around.
I mean, it goes even further, right? Because not only is it they do it this way, they actually did it on the first rotation of the pick and ban phase. They decided to draft this in. They then actually lock in the Azir and the Gangplank on 4 and 5, and then decide to pivot in. That's what part of the reason when you two were talking about this dodge for this bot lane. The draft was so difficult for you two to even figure out perfectly. They were swapping in the last round.
Yeah, I wish we had seen RJ play with this creativity and being this risk enthusiastic against a team that wasn't DFM. Because RJ has really fallen off from where they were in spring, but we know there's the nucleus of a solid squad in there. And I think, while the draft was messy, I definitely don't disagree with that, it was almost necessary risk. You need to do something. You need to find some sort of angle because you're not outskilling DFM here. And unfortunately, it just didn't wind up coming through. They lost everywhere. They lost where they needed to. But I don't want to see RJ now shrug and say, okay, we have to go back to standard, stop trying to find weird flexes and weird answers, because that element, it could work, potentially.
So, Nymera, I want to just understand a little bit deeper, because this bot lane is so pivotal as you've made it for the side of Rascal Jester. Why was the zoning, how did that zoning even happen for them in the first the first wave, honestly, coming in, and why did that honestly mess everything up for them?
They try to play around brushes, because when you're playing melee into range, you need to find like an artificial way to say, how do I close the gap? Using vision and saying you actually have to walk into the brush is a way of doing that. But DFM just monster them at level 1. They just auto-space them. They managed to get this point where like you backstep their auto attacks or the Yasuo Q, and then like you get a free auto in. And that happens so many times. They probably trade like 4 or 5 autos into their advantage. At level 1, that's a huge amount of damage, which means that you can't walk up to the wave. You don't get to stack Yasuo Q. You don't get to all in. And that means you lose wave control. You lose HP to actually go for an all in as well. All of your options at that point are kind of gone. You have to sit there just under turret and hope your jungler comes down. Even that didn't work out because it's so telegraphed. And how much ended up walking over a ward. So all of Rascal Jester's early options were around this bot lane, and they fall apart within like 2 minutes. It is ridiculous how far gone this game is after the bot lane falls apart.
And talking about things falling apart, I'm going to take this point from both of you because no, too preemptive. Chris, come back to me. I need to talk about a first blood that happened, because that happened earlier, mate. Because this is Steel, honestly, coming out on this Trundle and absolutely destroying Pathing, destroying everything, getting the pull, getting that first blood, getting the gold onto Yaharong, which wouldn't be a huge point. But Dodge, coming over to you real quickly, I want to talk about top lane. You are our Gangplank expert. You're one of our few top lane actual players, which is a thing to say. As we're so jungle, mid, bot focused here on our 3 founders. So top lane went awful, didn't it, for the Rascal Jesters, and beautiful for Ebby, as always.
Yeah, when you have a really... Oh my god! Bro, Chris is killing it with the memes today. We've got... Oh, I know as Weevil here, except he was not able to find any Exodia pieces to throw into the ocean. Ebby got his Exodia. It's called Gnar. And I think Nymera actually really painted it strongly, both during the game analysis and we were talking between games about this phenomenon, which is Gnar is so good right now. Even things that typically hard counted him in the past aren't doing it anymore. We've seen 9 games of Aurelia in pro this year, almost all of them into Gnar, and it doesn't have a very high winning record. We used to think of Aurelia as the hard Gnar counter, but he's so strong, and Epi is so proficient at him that I don't think there's anything I know could have done in this position to really find the hard counter that we sort of associate with GP, because he was just getting zoned off waves, dove under turrets with steel. It was a mess for the Pirate.
And all it takes is like one gank to really just tip this matchup, and a player like Ebi is always going to punish you for that. Yeah, I do think there is just a thing about Gnar in general. All of his old counters aren't actually good enough to like really punish him enough, and he's just easier to draft around. You do have a couple of choice champions which do well in him, which is stuff like Yone. We don't have top lane Yones in the LJL. We have them sometimes in mid lane. We just don't have it. So I know we're sat here meant to sit at parity, but once the rest of the map falls apart, it's just not going to go well for you.
And in that first exchange, Hachimetra was even there to back up his jungler, and it still didn't work out. The double body slap, well, the double Gnar ult, or Gnar, as it's so quaintly known on the HOD bar. That fed apart, but I want to come back over to you, Nymera, for a certain clip. 14 minutes, it's already game over. There's already like a 6k gold lead, 9-2. DFM are well and truly in the lead. To a point, bounties have come online, but then this play happens.
Yeah, so this is... I feel like Rascal Jester just don't have the right calculation here again. We've used that word a little bit, but like they're going for an aggressive play onto a Mega Gnar and a Trundle with ult. This was realistically never going to work out at this point. Even with huge numbers of advantages, the gold is against you. And you see how much auto attacks uptime that Sol gets in this. You think, wow, this should be an absolutely one fight. Maybe it would be if you weren't so far behind. I think Rascal Jesters in this game, I think they just got into this mindset of we have to take fights. And then they took every fight presented to them, and they just kind of dug their own grave a little deeper each fight.
And that just went from bad to worse, as you can see after that kill. I just feel like they're unstoppable before this point even happens. And if we can go into the next clip, because Dodge dragged the...
Not only did DFM win that fight, they also managed to slam the game so hard it's actually broken an Ethernet cable somewhere.
Killed me.
Yeah, Swan feeling that one all the way from the UK, but I can take over. It's fine. We have this next clip, and this is more of the same, right? RJ.
No, I seem to remember. I think so. Like I seem to remember. Do you ever remember playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2? Remember the perks they used to have? There was one called One Man Army in that, and I feel like Utapon has really taken that to heart in this one, because you have a cat, but let's be honest, this is just Utapon using Ghost, using Ultimate, and using the move speed to just get infinite amount of damage into the backline.
Yeah, and it's just over and done with at this point. It's just Utapon being that one-man army, being everything that DFM needed in this game. Him and Ebi really stealing the show, and I love this from Secret, man. Like, what do you even do? Right into the crab rave. It's perfect comedy. Who says that LJL is not a region with a sense of humor, at the very least?
Oh, we've always had a sense of humor. Have you seen how we dive the Nexus for no reason half the time? It's beautiful, but what is always beautiful are games of League of Legends and DFM picking up maybe a new streak to end it out. Remember, only Sengoku Gaming have been able to defeat them, but Sengoku have dropped some games, and we'll yet to see them play. But Dodge, thank you so much for being on the broadcast today. We've loved having you. Have you got anything you want to shout out just before you depart from us?
Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. It's all the same. It's all spelled like it is up in my name up there. That's me everywhere. Other than that, it was great to be here for the first 2 games. Hope to be back soon.
And we'll have you back shortly, I'm sure. But we're going to be swapping you out with Beautiful Crow. Nymera, you're going to be still with me. We've got the Hawks facing off against V3. V3, another win? Maybe? Probably not. Well, we'll see you after this break.